Hi, so I wanted to take a minute and talk to you about the discussion journals. There's always a little bit of confusion as to what I'm looking for in the discussion journal or what the expectations are, so I thought I would just make a video and lay it all out. We can talk about this more in class, but maybe this is after class and your journal is due tomorrow at class time and you have no idea what to do. Well, here you go. So I have the directions with me right here. I'm going to read them. Directions, right? Roughly one page, which is nothing. Double spaced, size 12 font, Times New Roman. You're college students, so this should be the norm. Relating any of the information from your textbook and class discussions to your own life. It's very important that you do not summarize the material. I've read the textbook, you've read the textbook. I don't want you to summarize the textbook. I want to see you thinking about and relating to the material. So this is all about this thing called mental models. Basically that I believe the way we learn is by attaching new information to stuff we already know. So like whenever I was learning human resources, I related pretty much everything to something I knew a whole lot about, basketball. So that way, I don't need to remember selection bias and radar errors. I can just think of the movie White Men Can't Jump with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. I know that movie pretty well, and because I attached that HR knowledge to that movie I know pretty well, I was able to, that's still how I remember it today. That's what I want for you, is to find that way to relate the material we're going over in class to your life so that you can actually remember this stuff. Because believe it or not, it's going to be useful whenever you graduate and start your career. Some examples of things you could talk about: your work experiences, TV shows or movies. I have no problem with that. I just explained how I learned something with a movie. Ideas that you have for starting a business. So I know several of you will probably want to be entrepreneurs. If you've got an idea and you can see how this stuff all relates, lay it on me. I'd be happy to read it, give you feedback. What you want to do for a job, anything else you can think of that relates in some way to the material. Literally anything else. As long as it makes sense, it's not ridiculous or obscene. If it helps you learn the material, I'm all for it. Because that's ultimately what I want, is for you to learn. This is not supposed to be busy work. I don't think it is busy work. You have to do 7 of them over 15 weeks. That's 1 page every 2 weeks. That's nothing. So basically, your entry should go something like this. It should start out. You should start out every entry with you saying, "Look, there's this concept we talked about in class, or that I read in the textbook, called whatever, and basically it's saying that this and this and this." So you have to start out with a little explanation. Identify a concept or concepts, something that interests you, and describe to me what it is that you're going to be talking about, so I know what's coming and that I can see you accurately understand what you're talking about. And then go into you, right? This concept makes sense to me because in my life, in my experience, I've witnessed this, and that's exactly like what the book was talking about. So here, for example, if I said, look, there is this concept in management that talks about how businesses use these different strategies to basically make money, to be better than their competitors. And one of those strategies is the cost leadership strategy. And I get that. I understand the cost leadership strategy because of my experience working in Lowe's home improvement store. Basically, a cost leadership Strategy is the company, the organization trying to do things as cheap as possible, as efficiently as possible. And by doing that, they can outperform everyone else and make money. An added benefit, but not necessarily something they have to do, is they can lower costs. By improving our efficiency and reducing our production costs or our labor costs, we can then offer a lower price to the customer, and they'll want to shop at our store. We'll make money. And like I said, I used to see that all the time in Lowe's. I mean, you can go into a Lowe's store and just see they don't invest a whole lot in bells and whistles. It's a very warehouse-esque looking place, but they do that for a reason. Everything is stocked right near where it's sold. So if something runs out on the shelf, an employee is going to know exactly where to go to find it. They can do it fast. They can provide that quick customer service. They do it efficiently. And that's what customers want. That's what makes Lowe's stand out. You can see it in their labor practices. They hire a lot of part-time workers. They hire a lot of seasonal workers. They do this so that they don't have to pay full-time employees when there's no demand for those employees. Lowe's is a very seasonal company. They do a lot of business in the summertime. They do a lot of business in Christmas time. Spring and fall are relatively slow. So they have adopted a staffing policy that gives them a cheaper, more efficient labor pool. They like to promote from within. There's a lot of internal promotion opportunities for Lowe's employees. That's because they want people who are indoctrinated in this cost, leadership, efficient, cheap strategy, because it's cheaper and more efficient for them to do that than bringing in somebody else who might have different ideas from the Lowe's way. And you could just go on and on about, that probably would have filled up a page, but you can see how I identified a concept, I explained that I knew what it meant, and then I related my experiences, my life, myself, to that concept, and how I recognize that concept matters, that it's important, and what it means. Let's see. Just to reiterate, it can be about anything. I would stick to the last couple of chapters that we've covered since the last journal you turned in. So, for example, Journal 1, I would probably find a concept in chapters 1 or 2. And then for the next journal, don't write about chapters 1 and 2. Move on to the new stuff. Keep it going. You can talk about multiple concepts. That's okay. If you don't have a long, winding story like I do, then think of multiple ways that you can relate to the concepts, that you understand the stuff. Let's see. You need to show me a unique connection between you and the concept. We're all, how do I put this, alive. We all interact with businesses every single day. We're all affected by most of these concepts every single day. You can find the unique link between you and something, right? So that you can show me you're thinking about and you're learning the material. Let's see. I'm going to go over the example that I've given you real quick. I'm not going to read it, but just want to point out some things that this person did very well. This is a student from a previous class. This was probably the best first attempt that I ever had at one of these journals. So if you go through and you read it, a couple things are going to stand out. The first paragraph, this person just defines the concepts, right? In class, we talked about this. One of the things that we've talked about is the contingency approach. Basically, that means this. Perfect. Moving on. So the way that this makes sense to me is because of all the stuff that happened to me in my life. I wasn't work related, but that's okay. I was the moderator for an online community of gamers. Right? This is just something this person did. And in this person's experience as a moderator of an online community of gamers, they recognize that the contingency approach applies. Right? The contingency approach is that basically there's no one best way. Every situation requires a different solution, a different approach. And that person recognized, yeah, that's true. Just in my small little world, trying to do my one job, two different people took two different approaches. Throughout writing about her experience, it's not just story time, like, look, all this stuff happened. She relates it back to the contingency approach. It depends on the situation. It says right there. So I hope that this helps you understand what it is that I'm looking for. If you still have questions, feel free to email me, talk to me after class, come by my office hours. I'd be very happy to explain it again. Just in sum, trying to get this to stick. There's not a specific thing that I want you to write about other than a connection between you and the content, the information that we're discussing in class. Find that relationship, find that connection, and explain it to me. That's it. Again, don't regurgitate the book. Don't write me a page of summary. That won't work, and you won't get full credit for that, or very much credit. In fact, I want to see something unique to you. All right, that's it. Thank you.